Hello guys, today we'll be discussing about an introduction part of retail marketing. So in here we'll be familiarizing ourselves what retail is and who retailers are and what type of retailers exist in the market. So let's start by defining what retailing and retailer is. So in previous eras or in previous years, retail is has not been given emphasis as much because most of the distribution is carried out by manufacturers and agents and some other intermediaries other than retailers. But nowadays, retailers influence the markets heavily because they are the one who is with a direct contact to the consumers, the final users. So the term retailing or retailer uh, is emanated from different field of studies like that of geography, economics, planning, management, marketing, and many more. So the combination of these field of studies developed the retailing process and developed what retail currently is. So going to the definition of retail, we have different definitions. So remember, when you discuss about definitions, if you want to memorize it or if you want to understand the definitions easily, try to look for the keywords and understand those keywords so that it will give you a hint and it will be easily memorable about the definitions. So the first definition says retail is any business that directs its marketing efforts towards satisfying the final consumer based upon the organization of selling goods and services as a means of distribution. So in this definition, the basic emphasis is that uh, the marketing effort, any marketing efforts, it could be distribution, it could be product assortment, it could be market planning, it could be pricing, it could be any other marketing effort. But these marketing efforts are toward satisfying the final consumers, not the business customers. When you define customer, when you classify customers, we have business customers, we have final customers or the end users, meaning the consumers. So the process of retail doesn't focus on the business customers, but they focus on the final customers, meaning the end users, consumers. So any marketing activity, whether it is pricing, whether it is distribution, whether it is product assortment, or any marketing effort, any marketing activity is directed to satisfy the final consumers. Then that's what retail means. This is the first definition of retail. If you see the second definition, there are little similarities with a little bit broader concept. So when you say retailing, it is the final activity and steps needed either to place a product in the hands of consumers. So again, in this definition, we can see retailing focuses on consumers rather than any other customers, whether it is business customers or any other customers. It focuses only on consumers. So when you say retailing, it is the final activity and steps that is to place the products in the hands of consumers. So when you say product, it's not just the tangible part of the product. This is also a service, meaning that uh, retailing involves in distributing or placing both the tangible part of the product, like that of sugars or salts in the case of convenience good, or it might be furnitures, it might be even vehicles. So these are the tangible parts of the product, the tangible product. and also they focus on delivering the services too. The service includes banking service, we have insurance service, we have consultancy service, we have advertising or research work services. So retailers focus on placing the products, meaning both the tangible as well as the intangible services to the consumer. So the first two definitions focus on marketing activity or any activity that will address consumers. So the third definition of retailing, uh, it says retailing. The word retailing came from old French word. It says retailer. I might not pronounce it correctly, but retailer came from two words, re and out of telling, to cut up or to make into pieces, or this word, the French word, implies a breaking of the bulk functions, or uh, disintegrating down the larger amount of products into smaller pieces and deliver those products to the final consumers. Again, it's not for customers, for business customers. They focus on providing these smaller pieces of units of products to the final consumer. So when you say retailing, you have to think of two things. Number one is they purchase a larger quantities of product, larger amounts of product, and then they disintegrate or they cut this larger amount of products into pieces, into smaller units, and they deliver or they hand over these smaller units of products for final consumers. So this is the basic definition of retailing. So retailers are middlemen or they are intermediaries. So they work as a bridge to connect the manufacturers or the producers and that of the consumer. So retailers are found at the bottom line close to the consumer, so they are part of middlemen. So when you say middlemen or intermediaries, they are located between the producers or manufacturers and that of the consumers. So uh, retailers are at the bottom line and they are close to consumers. They serve consumers, they transact with consumers, they exchange with consumers, and then they work to satisfy consumers. So the key objective or the basic objective of retailers is to provide a certain product, whether it is a service or tangible product, meaning the right product to consumers, but they should think of providing the right product with the right quantity too, and with the right quality and with the right time and out of place. So they should know their customers, they should know what they need, they should know when they need it, they should understand where do they need it, at what time do they need, and so on, so that they can satisfy consumers. So basically there are 7 P's that consumers, retailers should think of in providing service to the consumers. It is the right product, the right quality, the right quantity, the right time, the right place, and thereof the right uh, amount. So they should work to satisfy the final customers. So if we discuss about retailers, it is beneficial to distinguish retailers with that of wholesalers. They are both intermediaries, they are both middlemen, but there exists to be different characteristics between retailers and that of wholesalers. So when you say retailers, uh, they break the bulk. They purchase a larger quantity, and they break that larger quantity into smaller units, into smaller quantities, and they work with consumers. They transact with consumers, whereas wholesaler, they purchase in bulk, and when they sell the products, they sell it in bulk. They don't uh, sell the products in smaller quantities or in smaller units. So that is the first difference between retailers and that of wholesalers. The other difference between retailers and that of wholesalers is that retailers try to provide convenience in terms of location, in terms of payment, in terms of credit facility, in terms of assortment and others, to satisfy consumers again. But when you see wholesalers, they are not close to the customer. They are located in a certain place, but they are not located close to the consumers. But when you say retailers, they are close to consumers, and they try to provide comfort and convenience in terms of location. For instance, if you want to purchase let's say a juice for a morning drink, uh, you can purchase a juice in a nearby convenience store or in a nearby supermarket. Uh, and of course, you want to buy in smaller quantities, so they can provide you with what you required. But when you think of wholesalers, they don't really provide you with smaller quantities. Rather, they require you to purchase in a larger quantities, in a larger amounts, and they don't give you with credit facilities. But if you see a convenience store which is located near to your residential areas, or supermarkets which is close to your residential areas, they provide you with credit facilities. But when we say they provide these credit facilities, they don't provide credits for every customers, for every consumers. You have to be a loyal customer to get a credit facility. The other definition, the other difference between retailers and that of wholesalers is that retailers offer with a variety of assortments, with variety of products, while wholesalers only specialize it in carrying a specific type of products. For instance, if you visit any supermarket which is close to your residential area or a little far away, you can get different brands with different variety of products. Let's say if you think of purchasing um, a chocolate, for instance, you can get variety of chocolate types with variety of brands in a certain supermarket or in a certain convenience stores. But if you think of wholesalers, you might not get with a different variety of products with different brands in a certain wholesaler. So this is other distinguishing factor between retailers and that of wholesalers. The other difference between retailers and that of wholesalers is that retailers tend to attract the general public. They tend to transact with any consumer or any uh, individual that wants to purchase. But in the case of wholesalers, uh, they are specific oriented. They specifically focus on uh, uh, serving the business customers, those business customers or those individuals who want to purchase in a larger quantity. So this is the difference between retailers and that of wholesalers. The other difference is that retailers tend to charge a little bit higher price than wholesalers. The reason is that the wholesaler, they purchase it from manufacturers or producers, and they purchase it with a larger quantity, so they will get different discounts and so on. But if uh, you see the retailers, even if they purchase in larger quantity, they don't really purchase it uh, in a larger quantity compared to wholesalers, and there is a profit margin uh, between the manufacturers and uh, when the product reaches to retailers, because wholesalers will also make a certain profit, a certain um, revenue from the product. So retailers tend to set a little bit higher prices. They charge higher prices in terms of units amount. So this is the difference between retailers and wholesalers. Of course, there are other differences too, but uh, these are the main differences between wholesalers and retailers. Other than that, both retailers as well as wholesalers serve as a middleman or an intermediary that joins the manufacturers or the producers to the consumers. So if this is the case, there are basically three theories that uh, discusses the change that might occur in the retail uh, industry or in retailing. These theories are environmental theories. We have cyclical theories, and we have conflict theories. So these theories has their own issues, their own uh, uh, classifications, and their own explanations. So the environmental theory, the first theory, the environmental theory, explains that the development in retailing or the development in retail industry is as a result of change in environments. So when you say a change in environments, we have consumer related changes, we have technology related changes, and we have uh, competition based change. So because of these changes, the industry tend to develop or tend to expand the retail industry. So when you say consumer related changes, it is related with consumers demography, it is related with consumers attitude and preference and perceptions, it is related with the consumer's lifestyle, and it is related with the economic condition of consumers. So when you say demography, it is the study of population. So the population will be studied based on size, based on age, based on number, based on socioeconomic factors or socioeconomic groups, based on occupation and so on. So whenever there is a change in number of the population, whenever there is a change in size and structure, the retail industry tends to increase. For instance, I'll give you one example. Let's say uh, 20 years or uh, 30 years back, where uh, most of the customers or consumers likes to go out, and they tend to purchase the products somewhere else or once in a while. But nowadays, most of the customers like to purchase the product, but they don't want to carry the product themselves. They want delivery and so on. So because of these changes in behaviors, because of these changes in attitude, the retail industry will uh, change too. This is one reason for the growth of online retailing or e-retailing. They want to purchase the products from home or from office. So this attitude change uh, makes the retail industry to change in a certain way. Uh, the change in economic factors or economic influence has the same effect too. When someone gets a salary of, let's say, $10,000 per month, and some other individual gets $20,000 per month. So these two individuals prefer to shop differently. One might want to purchase the products by going out to supermarkets, and the other might to purchase by going to other retail stores. So uh, these economic factors will tend to change in retail industries. The other one is the change in the technology. So whenever there is technological advancements, just like that of internet, computer applications, and so on, the retail industry will shift together. Uh, when there was no internet connections, people tend to purchase on physical stores. But nowadays, because of the advancement of technology, because of internet, they like to shop while they are at home or when they are at office. And again, with the advancement of cellular phones, nowadays the cellular phones has a capacity like that of a mini computers. So if you can purchase products through your phone, if you can make payments using your cellular phone, then the retail industry shifts together. Competition is also has somehow similar effects. Whenever there is a higher competition, strong competition in the market, then the retail industry will shift. The retail industry will be entrepreneurial, meaning they come up with different products, they come up with different uh, activities, they come up with different strategies, and the retail industry will eventually change. So this is one theory. It is known as environmental theory, and this theory says the change in retail industry is as a result of a change in the environment. The second theory is cyclical theory. So cyclical theory says that the change in the retail industry is as a result of a certain pattern of development. So there is a certain pattern in the retail industry. So cyclical theory classifies the issue into three, and there are three uh, different sub-theories. One is the wheel of retailer, and the accordion, and the life cycle. So these are the three distinct theories in the cyclical theories. So bear in mind that the environmental theory say the change in the retail industry is as a result of change in the environment, and cyclical theory suggests that there are certain patterns that is developed for the change in the retail industry, and these patterns are classified as wheel, accordion, and are of life cycle. So when you say wheel retail, it says that the retailers enter into the market by lowest possible price, or which is called the bold new concept or the innovation. So they come up with lower possible price, they enter into the market so that they can attract customers, meaning the final consumers, in a larger quantity. And then whenever there is developments, when the retailer developed itself in terms of capital, in terms of experience, then they started to increase, they started to expand their businesses, and eventually at some point they will be vulnerable because of high costs, and they will start to decline efficiency and thereof strategies, and then eventually they will uh, be withdrawn from the market. So this process has an advantage of new retail entrants to join the market. So it's a kind of whale. They join the market with low possible price and with innovations, and then as time goes by they start to expand, they start to increase the service as well as the quality and the price together with the quality and that of service, and eventually they will leave the market and there will be new entrants to the markets, and the cycle goes on. So these new entrants will follow the same cycle as the previous retailers. So this is one theory. The other theory is the accordion theory. So the accordion theory works like the accordion, the musical instrument. So they will start uh, entering into the market by providing general as a general retail. They'll come up with specific products. So as time goes by, they will start to expand, they will start to diversify their offers, and then they will start to grow, and at some point they will go back to specialization, and again they will start to expand and grow and so on. So uh, unlike that of cyclical theory, like that of the wheel theory, the accordion theory says that the retailers doesn't leave the market or the industry, rather they will change their behaviors, meaning they'll come up with uh, new products. They grow, and they will shrink at some point, and then they will start to grow again. So it's a kind of a wave like shape. So these are uh, the basic reasons for specialization and that of for generalization. So as you see, whenever there is a limited store size at a specific location, the retailers will be forced to specialize in their assortments, in their businesses. Again, whenever there is a greater disposable income at the market, they will specialize so that they will attract segmented market, and they will start to make uh, profits. So uh, whenever there is higher disposable income, there will be specialization. Whenever there is a limited store size, they will be forced to specialize in their retail businesses, in their retail activities. Again, the reason for generalization is that whenever there is expansion uh, and whenever they try to scheme the markets, they will be a general retail stores rather than specialization. So this is the second theory. The accordion theory is like a wave. They will start being general retailers, they grow, and then they'll become specialization, and again they will uh, be general retailers again. So it is a kind of wave rather than a circle wheel. The third is the retail life cycle theory. So the retail life cycle theory suggests that retail development path through a certain stage. It's not a kind of pattern, but they will pass to a certain stage. The stages are shown in the graph. So this is the introductory stage where the retail business is at infant stage, so it is known as innovation 2. In some materials you might read innovation rather than introduction. So after a couple of periods, when sales grows, when awareness is created, then the retail store will start to grow and make profit, and then it will be at the maturity stage, and eventually the retail store will decline. So this is the life cycle of a retailer. So at this stage, at the introduction stage, the cost will be higher, the expense will be higher, the profits, I mean the revenue will be lower, because you are expending more in advertising, creating awareness in the customer's mind, attracting new customers, and you are new in that location or to that business. So you will be having higher expenses compared to the revenue. So in the growth stage, you will start to gain revenues, but you will be having expenses too. So in this stage, the revenue is relatively higher than the introduction stage. And in the maturity stage, you will be having expenses, most definitely, because you want to sustain in the industry for a longer period of time. But the revenue is also higher compared to the two stage, the introduction stage as well as the growth stage. So the mature stage is more profits, and you'll have a cost too. In the decline stage, you will be having lower profits, and you will be having costs. So if a retail stage is at a declining stage, uh, that retailer should come up with new strategies, new products, new assortments, and so on. Or uh, the retail store should change its specialization. So in the declining stage, it's a little bit difficult to stay in the industry and in the market, because the cost is higher and the competition is uh, also higher, more than what the retailer could compete with. So the third theory is conflict theory. So the conflict theory says there will be competition, there will be conflicts among retailers, but the conflict is not a kind of day-to-day competition because of day-to-day competition, but it is because of innovation, because there is imbalance in the innovation process or in the innovation. So in the conflict theories, it is based on the relationship and the competitive behavior between retailers. So whenever there are new retailers which opens in a certain location, there will always be a challenge, there will always be a conflict between the new retailer as well as uh, the one who stayed in that location. So in the conflict retailing, there are four stages. So the first stage is a shock stage, meaning the retailers will be shocked when they see new innovations in the market or in at that specific location. So they will have a shock, they will start to be frustrated. And the second stage is defensive retreat, meaning they will be defensive towards that new innovation. They will start to uh, aggressively defend themselves in that specific location or towards the innovation. The third stage is acknowledgement and assessment. So they start to accept the innovation, they will start to accept the new invented or the innovation exists in the market, and they will start to assess the weakness, the strengths, and so on, and they will start to design a strategy at the final stage. They will start to design a strategy to adopt and uh, to make the conflict positive. So these are the four stages of the conflict theory. These are the four suggested processes in the conflict theory. So these are the three basic theories. So in summary, we have environmental theory, which suggests us that the change in the retail industry is because of the change in the environments, like that of demographic, competition, technology, economy, and so on. And we have cyclical theory, which is distinguished into three categories: the wheel retailing, the accordion, and that of the life cycle theory. And the third is a conflict theory that emanates because of innovations in the market. So these are the three theories that help you to understand the change in the retail industry. So saying that, uh, retailers or retailing has a certain importance. So we have said retailing is a process of breaking the bulk and selling it into smaller quantities or smaller units. Retailers are those individuals who uh, basically focus to satisfy the consumers and so on. Of course, manufacturers could function as retailers, meaning they could work the work of retailers. They could retail. Sometimes manufacturers or producers deliver the product. They focus on consumer. They uh, perform marketing activities to satisfy consumers directly, but we cannot say they are retailers because they are manufactured. They produce a certain product, they manufacture a certain product, and they deliver those products for consumers. Of course, we can say they are uh, retailing, but they are not retailers. Retailers are those entities or companies who focus to serve consumers. Again, don't get confused. Retailers might sell products for business customers, for any organization. They might sell products for business customers, but at this point, they are not retailers. They are not working as a retailer. Of course, they are retailers in general, but they are not retailing. So you should distinguish retailing and that of retailers and manufacturers and wholesalers and so on. We can say manufacturers, when they deliver the product to consumer, they are retailing, but they are not retailers. We can say retailers could provide products for business customers, but they are not retailing at this point. So uh, the importance of retailers or the importance of retailing is that they connect and they link the manufacturers and that of the producers to the final consumers. That's number one. The other importance is they anticipate, they search what the consumers want, and then they develop assortments based on that consumers' needs and wants, and they deliver the products for consumers. So that is the second importance of retailing. They anticipate, they search the customers, meaning the consumers' wants and needs, and they deliver the products to consumers based on the needs and the wants of consumers. The third is they serve as a facilitating functions, so meaning they standardize the products, they grade the products, they support with financial or credit basis, they take risks, and they serve as an information source for both the producers as well as for consumers. The third importance of retailing is that since they work with consumers, they try to make the transaction as ease, meaning they make the exchange process in a comfortable way. They um, For instance, if you want to purchase a certain product, let's assume it is a furniture. So when you purchase furniture from a retail store, whether it is a supermarket or a department store or specialized stores, when you purchase a furniture, you don't have to carry um, a larger some amount of money uh, because they facilitate uh, the transactions. They will make things easier. You can pay using your cellular phones, or you can pay using your Visa cards and that of credit cards. So they will make the purchase process as ease, and they will make the customers, meaning the consumers, to be comfortable. The other importance of retailing is that they break the bulks, and they uh, distribute the products in small units, in uh, units. Uh, so you can buy one product, like let's say in one unit. If you want to buy 1 kg of edible oil, you can buy 1 kg of edible oil in a supermarket or in a convenience store, but you cannot buy 1 kg of uh, edible oil in the manufacturing factory warehouse, or in the from wholesalers. So they break the bulks. The other thing is that they provide you with utilities. So they provide you with three basic utilities: time utility, possession utility, and that of place utility. Retailers cannot provide you with a form utility. Be reminded of that. The only entity that can provide you with the form utility is the manufacturers and that of producers. Retailers and that of intermediaries, any other intermediaries, could not provide you with the form utility. So retailing provide you with the three utilities other than the form utility. They can provide you with time utility, meaning that uh, at the time that you want to purchase a certain product, you can purchase that specific product in the convenience store. For instance, if you want to purchase the product in the middle of the night. If you want to buy a toothpaste in the middle of the night, you can buy that toothpaste in a convenience store that is located near to your residential areas. So they provide you with time utility. They provide you with place utility too, meaning that you can acquire that product anywhere that you want to purchase. For instance, if you want to purchase the product close to your residential area, then the retailers could provide you. If you want to purchase that product a little further away from your residential areas, then the retailers could provide you with that. So you can acquire the product at the place where you need it. So time utility, place utility. When you say possession utility, they will provide you with um, the right for ownership. okay, once you purchase the product, that product belongs to you. You can do whatever you want to do with the products. You can dispose the product, you can give it away as a gift, you can use the product, and so on. So they provide you with possession utility, meaning they provide you with the right to use the product. So they provide you with time utility, place utility, and that of possession utility. But forum utility could not be provided by retailers. Forum utility could only be provided by manufacturers or producers. The other importance of retailing is they provide you with advertisement, they provide you with distribution for producers. So retailers, uh, they are intermediaries, they are located close to consumers, and they serve as a bridge between manufacturers and that of consumers, right? So they provide you with advertisement for producers. They distribute the producer's product, the manufacturer's product to consumers. So this is another importance of retailing. So when you say retailers provide you with information, they provide you with specifications. Let's say if you want to purchase cellular phones and you want to understand the specifications of that cellular phone, you can get it from the retailer, meaning that retailer will tell you what the operating system is, what is the storage capacity, what is the screen size, and so on. So they will provide you information for consumers. Again, they provide information for producers or manufacturers too, meaning since they are the one who's close to consumers, they search for the needs of consumers and they transfer that information to producers and manufacturers so that the manufacturers or producers could come up with new products, modified products based on the needs and the wants of consumers. So these are the importance of retailing. One question here. Is it possible to eliminate intermediaries or middlemen? Is it possible to eliminate retailers and distribute the products directly to consumers as a manufacturer or producers? Think about these questions and I'll come up with the discussions at the end of the lecture. Saying that, so the functions of retailing is that number one, they break the bulk. This is repeating terms, so I'm not going to discuss what breaking the bulk means. The other function of retailing is that they provide product and service information for customers. Third, they provide with customer services. So when you say customer service, we have three types of customer service. Before sales customer service, on sales customer service, and after sales customer service. So they provide you with different customer services. Let's say when the retailers provide you with the information about the products. Let's say you want to purchase a computer. Okay, let's say if you want to purchase a computer, you might have different brands of computers with different specifications and so on. And you might not want to incur extra money to purchase a computer that is not necessary for your work. Let's say if you are just writing, if you want to use the computer just for typing, not for designing, you might purchase a lower specification. But if you are a designer, let's say, if you want to use a computer for designing purposes, then you need a higher specification. So you don't want to spend extra amount of money on a certain product that will not help you for your specific work. So they will give you with which computer you should purchase based on your requirements. So this is before sales service. On the sales service, let's say you want to purchase that computer, but you want to pay in credit basis. You want to pay online, or you want to pay in a check. So they provide you with these services. So it is known as on sales service. The after sales service, for instance, you want to have a maintenance service. So it is after purchasing the product. So the retailers will provide you with customer service, both before sales, on sales, and thereof after sales services. Again, they create convenience and comfort in terms of utilities, time, place, and thereof possession utility. So these are the functions of retailers, and they provide feedbacks for producers about customers and so on. So these are the functions of retailing. And we have different types of retailers. So when we classify uh, retailers, we can classify it based on storage. So store-based retailers, and we have non-store based retailers. So we have two broad categories of retailers in terms of store. So we have store-based retailers, and we have non-store based retailers. So when you say store-based retailers, there exists to be a physical store that customers, meaning consumers, go and purchase a product or a service. So it is known as store-based retailer. So when you say non-store based retailers, they don't have a physical store. The store, I mean, the retailers might be virtual. So based on storage, we have store-based retailers, and we have non-store based retailers. Again, store-based retailers will be classified into two, uh, on the basis of ownership and on the basis of merchandise that is carried in the store or by the retailer. So let's focus on the ownership part first, and we'll come to the based on the product or the merchandise accommodated or carried by a retailer. So when you say based on ownership, uh, so ownership tells you whether it is owned by a single individual or a couple of individuals. So based on ownership, we have independent retailer. So when you say independent retailer, it is sole proprietorship. It is owned by one individual. So this independent retailer is also known as dad and I mean mom and pop retailer. So the independent retailers are sole proprietorship, and they own only one retail store or retail outlet. If there is one retail outlet, and if that retail outlet is owned by uh, an individual, then it is known as independent retailer. The second one is a chain retailer or corporate retail chain, and it is also known as chain stores. So these chain stores or chain retailer is owned by single ownership. It is a sole proprietorship, but the difference between chain store and that of independent retailer is that in the case of chain store, there existed to be two or more retail outlets. So whenever there is two or more retail outlets or retail stores, which is owned by single individual or single ownership, then it is known as chain store. But if there is only one retail outlet and it is owned by single individual, or when it is single ownership, then it is known as independent retailer. So this is the difference between independent retailer and that of chain stores. The third store based on ownership is a franchisee. So when you say franchisee, the company, meaning the retailer, pays for the franchisor. Franchisee pays for the franchisor. But in the case of franchisee, the business model says that the brand, the products, the manuals, the materials that the franchisee uses should be similar and exact copy of the franchisor. And then we have strong control in here. I believe you are familiar with this logo. It is Domino's Pizza. So it is a franchise company. So when you own a franchise retail store, the franchisee pays a certain amount of money for the franchisor, but the brand, the business models, the manuals, the store layout and other things will be copied, and it is exactly the same as the parent company, which is the franchisor. The fourth is known as leased department. So the other name for leased department is shop-in-shops. So in this case, there will be a retail store which is rented for outside party in the department stores. For instance, there will be a mall or any department store, but there will be a place which is rented for outsiders at a corner side of that department store or the mall. So it is known as leased department, and it is also known as shop in shops. The last type of store based on the basis of ownership is known as consumer cooperatives. So consumer cooperatives are organizations or retail stores which are owned by consumer members. So the consumer members will establish a retail store. It is known as consumer cooperatives. So the basic aim is to provide products with a fair price to consumers, but the ownership is consumers members. In the independent retail, it is owned by single individual. It is single ownership, and there will be only one retail outlet. When you say chain store, it is still single ownership, but you'll be having two or more retail outlets. When you say franchisee, the franchisor will allow the franchisee to use the business model as well as the brand, and the franchisee will pay a certain amount of money for the franchisor. The leased department or shopping shops is when there will be rental for outside parties inside a certain department store and certain malls. And when you say consumer cooperatives, the ownership is for consumer members. So this is the different types of store-based retailer basis on ownership. The other type of retailer, which is still a store-based retailer, but in this time it is not based on ownership, but it is based on merchandise offered by that specific retail store. So when you say department stores, the other name for department store is pin to plain. It is also known as pin to plain because these department stores carry any type of products with different varieties, and there will be departments in that specific store. There is a department for furnitures and furniture products. There will be department for um, grocery items. There will be a department for uh, any other product. So there will be different departments in the store, and it is a huge space. They carry variety of products with different brands, with different specialized individuals in that specific store. So it's known as pin to plain stores or departmental stores. It is classified or divided based on departments. So this one is larger compared to the others. Convenience stores are located near to your residential areas, and they uh, offer convenient products like that of uh, candies or newspapers or soft drinks or any other convenient products. So they are located at near to the residential areas, and they are smaller in size compared to uh, the other retail stores. Supermarkets are also located near or located in the residential high streets. So the difference between supermarkets and that of convenience store is that supermarket they are located in the high streets, while the convenience stores are located not only in the high streets but close to your residential areas. And based on the merchandise that is offered, the convenience stores carry convenience products, while supermarkets carry two type of products: grocery items and that of household merchandises. So you can find both the household merchandise as well as the grocery items in the supermarkets, but in the convenience stores you cannot find household items. They only carry convenience products. So this is the difference between supermarkets and that of convenience stores. When you say specialty stores, they only carry specialized type of products. For instance, if you see some retail stores, they only carry computer and computer appliances. That's the only thing that they carry. And in some other retailers, they only hold stationery materials and they not hold any other uh, type of product. So it is known as a specialty store. They only carry specialized types of merchandise in their retail store. So it is known as specialty stores. So far so good, I guess, right? It is getting easier and easier. The hypermarkets. So these hypermarkets are a combination of supermarkets and that of the general merchandise store. So it is bigger than the supermarkets, and it is smaller than the department stores. So hypermarkets they carry what the supermarket carries and what the general store carries, but in terms of size and in terms of variety, they hold a variety of products compared to supermarket, but they don't hold variety of products that much compared to the departmental stores. The catalog showrooms are the last one in this category. So the catalog showrooms they sell products based on catalogs, and they hold hard goods like that of housewares, consumer electronics, and so on. But when they sell the product, they sell the products basing on the catalog that is mentioned or available in the showrooms. So they serve as a showroom. So these are the two categories in the store-based retailers. So the first one is basing on ownership, and the second one is basing on merchandise offered. The second category is non-store based retailers. So when you say non-store based retailers, they don't have physical stores, but when you say store based retailers, they exist to be a physical store. So non-store based retailers is also classified into two: direct selling and that of direct response marketing. So when you say direct selling, they focus on door-to-door sales or personal selling. So they go to different houses or at a workplace, and they try to sell the products on hand. So it is known as direct selling, but there is no uh, physical store that exists. The second one is known as direct response markets. Unlike that of direct selling, the direct response markets sell the products based on the request from the consumers. In the direct selling, they go door to door, they initiate the customers to purchase the product. The sales is not directed from the request of consumers, but in the direct response marketing, the request came from the consumer. So how do they sell the products? We have five categories. Number one is mail order retailing. So the customers mail the salespersons, and based on that mail request, the retailers provide them with the products. And then we have television shopping. So when you say television shopping, the retailers tells the customers the address, meaning the cell phone address or the email address, and the customers request those retailers, and the retailers provide them with the products. The third method is e-shopping or e-retailing or internet retailing that we have discussed at the last lecture. So when you say e-retailing or e-shopping, uh, there exists to be internet between the retailers and that of the consumers. So the customers or the consumers request the retailers through using internet. So the retailers will provide them with the products. And then we have telemarketing. The difference between telemarketing and that of internet marketing is that in the telemarketing there is the use of cellular phones or phones in general. In the e-shopping or electronic retailing or e-retailing or internet retailing, there exists to be internet connections. And then we have automated vending machines. So in here the vending machines are applied to sell the products. So the vending machines, we have some examples in the vending machines like that of soft drinks, and we have coffee vending machines and so on. So these are the direct response marketing types, and we have the direct selling. So in the summary, we have two types of retailers: store-based retailers and that of non-store-based retailers. Again, in the store-based retailers, we classified it into two, based on ownership and based on merchandise. And in the non-store based retailing, again we classified it into two. We have direct selling and we have direct response marketing. So these are the different types of retailers. So this is the basic difference between store retail and non-store retail. So in the store retail, there exists to be physical store, but in the non-store retail, there is no physical store or physical place. So that is one difference that we have discussed so far. The other difference is in the store retail, we can classify it in terms of ownership and that of merchandise offered, but in the non-store, we classify it as a direct person contact and that of a direct response market. In the store retail, the other difference is that we have we have indirect relation with consumers, but in here we have direct relation with that of customers, in a sense that the in the non-store the transaction is face to face. We have personal selling and so on, and we directly communicate with the customers to request us and so on. But in the store retail, we don't really directly communicate with the customers and so on. So these are the difference between store retail and that of a non-retail store. I mean, a non-store retail. The other topic for today's lecture is consumer buying behavior in retailing. So these are two different steps by two different authors. So one author goes into these 7 steps, while the other author classifies in 8 steps. So there is need recognition. So need recognition means the customers or the consumers started to understand what is needed, whether it is for hunger or any other need, which is classified by Maslow. So there will be a need recognition. So let's say it is hunger, all right? So if the consumer feel hungry, then that consumer has identified what is required. So that's the first step. But before they started to purchase the products, they started to search for information to satisfy their hunger, which is the needs that is recognized by that specific consumer. So in the information search, you have different sources of information. You have a past experience, you have family members, you have advertisement and so on. So you are going to search for the information, and then after acquiring information you might have different informations. So you are going to evaluate those alternatives. It is a pre-purchase evaluation. So you are going to evaluate cost benefit analysis. That means, all right, you are going to analyze the costs and the benefits of purchasing a certain product from a certain retail. So it is a pre-purchase evaluation. After evaluating the alternative that you have, you are going to purchase. You are going to buy the product from a specific retail store. So there will be a purchase stage, a purchase process, and then there will be consumption after you purchase the product, because we are discussing about consumers. The products will be consumed, so there is a consumption stage. The consumption might be in a group or else, and the 6th stage is post-consumption evaluation. After consumption, there will be evaluations too. So the evaluation process will be at 2 stages. One is in the pre-purchase stage, and the other one is after post-purchase, after consumption. Then after evaluating your experiences, then you are going to divestment your feelings. So this is one process. The other process, we have certain similarities. There will be need arousal, so the need will be aroused by your needs, and then there will be recognition of needs. So before need recognition, there will be need arousals by different factors. So there will be need recognitions. For instance, if the weather is sunny and it is hot, uh, there will be a need, but this need is aroused because of the weather condition, so there will be need arousal in this category. After recognition of the needs, or after identifying the needs, there will be level of involvement. You are not going to involve yourselves in every situation, or even if you involve yourselves, there is a different level of involvement in purchasing or not purchasing the product. For instance, if you are going to purchase sugars, let's assume, if you are going to purchase sugar, you are not going to involve yourself deeply in the purchase process, but think of purchasing furniture or a vehicle, then you are going to involve yourselves in purchasing that specific product, so there will be a level of involvement. After that, there will be search of information and uh, uh, alternatives in purchasing the product. So you are going to look for information, and you are going to look for different alternatives and so on. After that, you are going to evaluate those alternatives. Again, there will be cost benefits analysis in this stage. So you after evaluating the alternatives, you are going to make decisions. So we have different decisions: purchase decision or make decision. If it is purchase decision, there will be purchase action. If it is make decision, you are not going to pass to the other states. So if there is purchase decision, then there will be a purchase activity or a purchase action, and then there will be a post-purchase evaluation or post-purchase feeling behavior. So there are a certain similar steps from these two authors. For instance, there will be recognition of need in both, there will be search of information, and evaluation of alternatives in both categories. There will be a purchase process in both, and then there will be post-purchase evaluation. So these are the two different buying behaviors, buying processes from two different authors. So whether you use this one or the other, we have a certain similar states to be followed by consumers. So this is the last part of our discussion for today. In the retail life cycle, we have discussed it in the previous theories when we discussed about cyclic theory, if you remember. So we have different stages of retail. We have the introduction stage, we have the growth stage, we have the maturity stage, and we have the decline stage. So uh, there will be retail development in here, there will be innovations in here, establishment of new retail business, and then uh, the retail store will start to expand, will start to grow in terms of profits, in terms of market share, and so on. And then that retail store will be at maturity stage, and eventually when there will be new entrants, when there is a higher competition, or whenever there is a better product and a better retail store, that retail store will decline and eventually will be out of market. So the x-axis is the time period, and the y-axis is the cash flow. So this will be the life cycle of any retailer. With this, I thank you very much and stay safe. Have a good night.